There will be 4 questions, and you will have 3 minutes to go each question. For our first question, District 3 has seen a major increase in residential development. How will you help address this concern?
First, let's start with the zoning, and people have heard me say this. I carry around a big map. And I carry around a big map so that the district, not only District 3, but so others can actually see how the district looks as it relates to subdivisions and growth in the district. To address the growth that we've had, and this just didn't start when Commissioner Sanders was elected. This started a long time ago. We moved back here in Newton County in 1998, and there was farmland on Ferry Road. And now there's so many housing, it's unreal. Zoning, y'all. Zoning. And not zoning that would apply to the whole entire county. That's a mistake. I've said this. District 3 is not basic. So we can't adhere to basic zoning laws. We have to do something more aggressive. And district needs its own overlay. That's what a leader does, y'all. We strategically figure out how to address a problem instead of just highlighting the problem. If you're not a part of the solution, you're always going to be a part of the problem. My plan is to enact an overlay to collaborate with my fellow commissioners so that we can understand the type of overlay that we need to have. But we need to first start by making sure that we don't continue building 3 houses on 1 acre. Okay? We also need to start by aggressively looking at where we are right now, which I've done. I've done an open records request asking for all the permits, the status of the permits, the status of property that has already been zoned, where we are in the equation, so that we can see what we need to do aggressively going forward. I'm hoping that with all the talk of zoning and density, that our current commissioner now, since she's still in office, is going to actually do something more aggressive about it. That's how we address that issue. But the growth also leads to public safety. We also need to address public safety in the district, not only in the district, but in the county. I don't know if some of y'all know that there are some days that there are only 5 to 6 deputies on patrol for the whole entire county. That's not an exaggeration. That's the truth. What do we do about that? I think that a part of the growth that we're having in our community, and as a commissioner, because remember what I've said, the role of the commissioner is to enact policy and procedure. That's the main role of a commissioner. We need to have more policies in place to verify and provide metrics on whether or not the things that we're doing in public safety are actually producing the results that we claim that they're producing. And that's not to say that the sheriff is not doing anything. That's just to say we need to be more responsive.
Thank you so much, Lindsay, for the information. If you all were paying attention in 2022, we were in a moratorium for almost a year and a half. That's why we went into a moratorium, to look at the zoning, the ordinances for every district. If you knew the ordinances and the zoning for every district, you'd have known that District 3 previously was able to build 8 houses on 1 acre. In 2022, we changed that to 3 houses on 1 acre to protect District 3. We all came together as a commission board. We looked at the east side of Newton, and we also looked at the west side of Newton. That was done in 2022 and put into effect in 2023. That's why we were in a moratorium almost a year and a half. Now, as Lindsay is definitely correct, I was not here when all the mass building was done. And as a commissioner, within your first year, you're looking at various things to see how you can correct the problem. That's why you saw me deny townhomes in our area, because our infrastructure has not been put in place. I've been saying smart growth, smart growth, smart growth for the past 3.5 years. If you come to the Board of Commissioners meetings and you watch it, I've been saying our infrastructure is not put in place. You even heard our chairman just state that. Our infrastructure is not put in place. We actually need to go back into a moratorium. Why do we need to go back into a moratorium? It's because we need to make sure the infrastructure is put in place before we constantly keep building. If you look at District 3, and you hear a lot of people always say District 3 is the stepchild of the community. So many homes are constantly being built. We are placed in there like sardines. If you drive through, you have a lot of people say they actually avoid coming through District 3. Because those residents that live in those various areas on the west side, they can actually physically see their homes. They can see them and they can get out and walk to them. They take them 30 minutes to get to their front door because the infrastructure is not put in place. I even spoke with GDOT. Many of you heard me that. I keep in contact with the state. That's why you see me at the state capitol, because that's where the laws are rectified. And so I am there because I asked GDOT, when is Salem Road going to be widened? They hadn't even done the RFP process to select the contractor. So it has been pushed back. It was supposed to start in April 2024. And that is one of the reasons why you constantly see me saying we need to go back into a moratorium to make sure Quarrel Road is complete, to make sure Salem Road is complete, to make sure Brown Ridge Road is complete. And many of you have called me about the new roundabout on Kirkland that you are upset about knowing where to go. On Kirkland Road, the roundabout. As you see, people in District 3 are talking about it. He's laughing. You have called me about that. That is a situation that needs to be completed before you put more homes. District 3 is the only district that grew during redistricting.
For our second question, the issue of crime is voiced by many residents. What steps will you implement and take to help address this matter?
Public safety. I think that it's a mistake for our commissioners to continue to say that they have no control on how the sheriff spends his money. As a constitutional officer can spend their money in any way they want to. And I would say to a certain extent they are correct. But where they're wrong is, if you control the purse strings, then you can have a say in how money is spent. What we need to put in place are metrics. We need to have metrics in place so that when the sheriff presents to us what his plan is in his budget, that we ask, which is not being done. You go ahead and look at the commission meetings. You ask, how is this money spent in this or on this line budget going to affect what we have as our goal? Our goal is to reduce crime. How is this going to affect that? You know in a business, what you do is when you plan in a business, you set goals. You then produce what your plan is going to be to get to those goals. And then you track it. That's successful. That's how you track to see if it's going to be successful. So I would say that that's what we need to do. Without a doubt, collaboration is the key. We need to work hand in hand with public safety. We need to figure out as a board what we can do to enhance so that we can keep officers here, we can keep firefighters here. We're just not paying for them to be trained and then they move on. We need to find out what that is that we need to do. Now, since I have a few seconds left, I'm going to say this. I want everybody to look at the zoning law changes that were done. Please. Because the zoning law changes that were done, the documentation that was produced by our current incumbent shows you what the changes are. And it makes it easy for you. So on each line it says whether or not there was a change that was proposed and whether or not there was a change. There was no change. That's the problem we have in leadership in our community right now in our district. We've got to stop doing that. We got to just stop saying things because it sounds good. We got to match that with actual documentation that matches up with what was done. I'm an attorney. I've been an attorney for 23 years. Before being an attorney, I was involved in this community. I don't have to have this position. I want this position, not for money, not for social status, not to get my name out. I already got that. I want this position to help people. And if we listen, and I keep asking everybody, listen carefully to what's being said to you, because it is not accurate. And we need to stop playing those games with people and start treating people with the respect and the dignity that we should be treating them with as elected officials. We've got to tell the truth, and we've got to match our goals with our action. And that's what I'm about, action. Not only when it comes down to zoning, but also when it comes down to public safety and all the other issues that we need to aggressively address in District 3.
Can you repeat the question because it went to zoning instead of law enforcement?
The of crime is voiced by many residents. What steps will you take to help address this matter?
First, we have to make sure we bring the sheriff to the table. Many times, zoning is passed, various things are done without the sheriff included. So in order for us to make sure law enforcement is put in place, we have to make sure those people are at the table. If you go back to 2008 and 2010, I did a lot of research. The sheriff budget was cut drastically by millions. Do the research. It was cut drastically by millions. By this board, by the Board of Commissioners. So how can you expect someone to put something in place when the funding is not there? Now, if you are a certified commissioner, you know that when you're trained, that the sheriff does control their budget. Now, if you also pay attention to legislation, you will also know that the state representatives and the senators passed a recent bill so that the counties can hold the sheriff more accountable. So that's already put in place. So that's why you see me pay attention to what's happening at the state capitol, because it affects us on the local level and also our budget, because now we have to put a department in place to make sure that's in effect. So those parameters are put in place in regards to the spending of our sheriff to make sure that all things are accountable and transparent. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Our state representatives did it for us.
Question number 3. You are fortunate to become the District 3 Commissioner. What would you do to work with the remaining board members? Now, what would you do to encourage them to work with you on meeting the specific needs of your citizens?
Respect. 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 I can't say that enough. When you talk about collaboration with people, you can't go to somebody and say, I need you to work with me after you spit in their face. Who's going to do that? You can't do that, y'all. The bottom line is we have to understand, and I get it. You got to be the bigger person. You got to take that spit in your face and keep it moving and do what's right for the people. I get it. I get that. But the person that's doing the spitting need to understand too that the people are more important. And maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe you should collaborate. I'm an attorney, like I said. I can't get anywhere by cussing everybody out. Now, I cuss. Everybody know I cuss. I'm trying to do better on this campaign trail. But the bottom line is this. You can't get everywhere doing that. You have to sometimes be humble when you want to go that's going to affect the masses. Sometimes you got to stop and put yourself to the side and put the people first. And so as a commissioner, that's what I would do. As a commissioner, I would express respect and I would express transparency and truthfulness in my research that I've done so that they will know that I'm willing to work with them and I'm willing to do whatever I can do to collaboratively push Newton County and District 3 first. That's what you do. And when you talk about research, you know, it's one thing when you do research and you share that research with your fellow commissioners that you have. This is what I gathered in my research. Let's go ahead and handle this. This is something that my constituents need to have done. It's another thing when you do your research in a silo, which means you do your research by yourself. You don't share research with anybody because that research is flawed. Flawed. I'm not trying to throw any digs at Commissioner Sanders. I'm being honest about that. But I do believe that it is important for the people of Newton County to know the absolute truth, which is why I would ask that if you have research that is contrary to what I'm saying, put it out there for everybody to see. Put it on your website. Put it on your social media. She's a master at social media. Put it on there. Let it get out to everybody so that everybody can see. Because at the end of the day, when you talk about what we do collaboratively together on the Board of Commissioners, if you publish that research and it's matching what you're saying it is, you may have more people that would be willing to work to achieve those goals that you've set. But when the research is flawed and they know it's flawed, they're probably not going to want to support that.
Most definitely, and I wish you would say that earlier. Let's go to some facts. If you actually follow me, anything that's open records, and I think majority of y'all do, the exact same open records I put on social media. If it comes from any department, whether it's development services, whether it's law enforcement, I post it on social media. Why I do that? Because I want you to know what's happening behind the scenes. Why I do that is because I'm transparent. Now, we talked about leadership, and Ms. Lindsay mentioned respect. Respect starts from the top. When I first came in this position, and we're not going to walk on some of the things, I also received an email from Ms. Lindsay that wasn't so nice. And I've never said it. Because I didn't meet with her, and she wanted me to meet with her. And so respect starts from the top. When I first came in this position, if you look at my first 2 meetings as a commissioner, you would have saw the difference. I was the first ever to be questioned on my ability to be vice chair when it has rotated for years and years. And I was told stories that I could not be the vice chair my first year until a commissioner came to me and said, why you don't want to be the vice chair? I said, I never said that. And so that came, and it's also on tape. You can see that. So it's important that leadership starts at the head and it trickles down to the people. If your leader is not showing the respect, then how do you expect the followers to show the respect? And so transparency, we speak on transparency. Every time I say something, I go get an open records. As she mentioned earlier in regards to the zoning, that came directly from Shayna Applewhite, our Development Services Director, that stated that those things were put in place and our acreage was changed in regards to zoning. I'm not going to post anything that's not in regards to facts, open records. And I also ask you all, if there's something that needs to be fact-checked, open records is available to every citizen here, every resident. You're a resident of Newton County, you're a citizen of the United States. Every resident in this room, you have the opportunity to do open records and to fact check anything that I put on my page or any information. That is your civic duty. And you're supposed to have it within the 3 days based on the Attorney General. So anything that I post, you can fact check. Thank you.
For our final question, how will you address the issue of recreation facility for the west side of the county?
Well, is it just the west side or District 3? Because there's a distinction.
The west side.
Okay, so while the question says the west side, I want to talk about District 3 because District 3 doesn't have recreation. And District 3 is a part of the west side, so is District 4, and so is District 2. But as it relates to the park, because that's the infamous question, when are we going to get a park in District 3? I think that what is important is that we look at the available locations. When we say available locations, it's not only available locations that are for sale or listed for sale, but it's also individuals who are in our community that actually own property that may not be for sale, but they haven't done anything with it. I think that there needs to be a collaborative conversation to those individuals to see whether or not they would be willing to sell the properties to Newton County for us to go ahead and develop into a park. The bottom line is the placement of the park is very important. Now, I have been stated by an individual in District 3 that my sentiment leads people to believe that I don't think that there should be a park on Fairview Road because of crime. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that anytime you think about a placement of a park, you have to take into consideration all the elements that are or could be an effect on the ability for people to enjoy the park. There is a small community park right now on Fairview Road, and the citizens in that particular community don't like that the park is there because of all the crime that it breeds. That's what needs to be taken into consideration, y'all. We can't just arbitrarily say, you know, this property right here is for sale. This lady wants to sell this property. She wants to sell it for more than it's worth, but we're going to just focus on this property. That's not how you handle business. That's not how you get things accomplished for the people. You don't also get things accomplished for the people by just screening or talking to 20 to 30 people when there are over 20,000 people in your district. That's another thing. I think that the park placement is important because we want to make sure that people are going to be able to enjoy the park. We want to make sure that the park is not going to be a place where we have individuals come in there for the purpose of crime. We already know that we've had 2 drive-by shootings, I think 1 death and an arson at the park that was already in the community already. And so we want to make sure that that is not done. I do think that we don't need to waste any more time, and we need to kind of aggressively look at what we need to do to get the park here, because the people want it. But there are other areas in District 3 that are available. There are hundreds of acres that are located on Cook Road, which is in District 3. There are acres that are located on Oxford, which is in District 3. And the bottom line is, when you go out there and look at that map, and you see how the District 3 landscape is, you can tell for yourself whether or not there is going to be any space for the park in a particular area. We have to think outside the box to achieve things. We can't be fixated on one property and not be open to do something different.
Thank you so much. If you would pay attention, we have a project manager here in the county that we pay a lot of money to. The job of that project manager is to bring properties to us. The project manager brought us those properties. 3, to be in fact. Then we had an interest meeting with the community. The project manager and consultant put together an interest meeting where the residents of District 3 were able to vote and decide where they wanted their park. Now, if you didn't attend, that has nothing to do with Commissioner Sanders, and it has nothing to do with the Board of Commissioners. Those individuals voted on where they wanted their park to be. Then the top 2 were brought to the Board of Commissioners to decide on the location. But actually, the top 2 were not brought because only the first and the third was brought to the Board of Commissioners. So it is our job. That's why we pay a project manager. If that's not the job of the project manager, then we don't need a project manager. The project manager has not brought any more property or land. That is where the people of District 3 voted for that to be. Not only that, we paid $100,000 for consultants to survey the area of our county, to tell us where the park should be located based on where the people are located. The people are not located on Cook Road. They're on the west side of Newton. It's a 500-page document that I posted on social media for you all to read, matter of fact. A 500-page document that tells you where parks and recreation should be located by subject matter experts who told us where they should be located in Newton County. So that did not come from Commissioner Sanders embarking on certain lands and properties. That came from that consultant who also is on a live video that came before us and told us that park should be located in the Fairview corridor, Fairview Road, based on that having the most children and the most amount of people and don't have recreation. District 3 was donated land that's in conjunction with Rockdale on the northern side. It is a conservatory to build a nature park. The individuals that have came to the meetings are awaiting their nature park. It's free land. All we have to do is build it out in conjunction with Rockdale County. We had a meeting with Rockdale County, as you see the commissioner here. We walked through that nature park. I went through it twice. And I also videoed it for y'all to see it. So there is a park on the other side, the Cook Road area, for those residents. Those consultants said that park and that facility is in that 500 document. That's where it's supposed to be located. That did not come from District 3 Commissioner. That came from subject matter experts.
Now have 3 minutes to wrap up.
Read carefully, y'all. That's all I can stress to you. Read the documents that have been provided to you carefully. It's one thing to read the documents, it's another thing to rely on a narrative of somebody telling you what the documents say. That's 2 different things. The bottom line is this. We have to be more aggressive when it comes down to the needs of District 3. And in that, we have to work with our fellow commissioners. In that, we have to pay attention to what the community is saying, but at the same time, share with the community the truth about where we can go and how we can get there. My name is Stephanie Lindsay, and I'm running for District 3. I'm running for District 3 because I am passionate about people. There's nobody that can say otherwise. I have no reason to tell you falsehoods. I have every reason to give you all the transparency that I can give you because I think that that's how we're going to move forward as a district. I also want to stress to you that we have to do something about our youth, okay? We talk about the problems that we have, but we don't have the solutions. I have the solutions. Go to my webpage, www.stephanieRlindsay.com. www.lindsayfordistrict3.com. The bottom line is, on that webpage, you'll see a whole area of solutions. And I'm not talking about lip service. I'm talking about actual plans, step to step. The bottom line is we need to have leaders that know how to handle business. We need to have leaders that know what to do. We talk about zoning, we need to have leaders that know how to get from A to Z without just talking about it, with action. And that's what I'm about. I want to stress the overlay. I want to stress the zoning. I want to stress public safety. I want to stress what we need to do for our youth. I want to stress what we need to do for mental illness in our community, which is a pandemic. I want to stress what we need to do about homelessness. And I don't have to talk about it. I've already been doing things with it. I have been forced to now, because I'm running, to list every single thing that I have ever done for Newton County and for the state and for people. And I'm uncomfortable doing that because, like I said, I don't like bragging about what I've done. I just like doing it because it's what I'm supposed to be doing. But I'm doing it. And I'm putting it out there. Because I was told by somebody that I don't do anything. I've been here since 98, and I've been fighting for this community since 98. I've been fighting for this community in the community. I've been fighting for this community outside of the community. I'm still going to fight for this community whether or not I win or not. Because I want all of us to win. Period. I'm not going to stop because this community decides that they're going to continue to have the leadership of Commissioner Sanders. I'm still going to do what I do because that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I love Newton County. I love people. I love youth. I love seniors. And I ain't about just talk. I'm about action. 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 Action.
Thank you so much. And I'm glad she ended on action, because that's what I've been doing. Not only do I fight for this community on the local level, I'm also the vice chair on Health and Human Services on the federal level, where we write policies to make sure we have a better place. Some of you spoke about seniors and children. Well, I'm a part of those policies that were written. I just came from a 3-day conference where I was chosen along with other DAs, commissioners, city councilmen, and also school board to find out how we can deal with the housing crisis in the United States of America and rent stabilization. We came up with policies for the past 2 days. In order to have things moved in place, and she's correct, you got to have policy in place, but you have to have the conversation. If you don't have the conversation, then there's no movement. As I stated, you also, our chamber, who came to me and asked me why should we reverse our vote in regards to the townhomes in District 3. I can send you that email. I asked the chamber to hold a housing symposium for the community so that you can actually hear from the residents on what they want to see in their community in regards to housing. That was declined. So I said, that's okay. I will host it as Commissioner Sanders so I can sit here and listen to those on the east side, the west side, north side, whatever you want to call it, so I can hear what your concerns in regards to housing. How are we going to make these choices if we're not listening to the people? How are we constantly voting in various things if we're not listening to the people? That's why you see me not just sitting here in Newton County being stagnant. That's why you saw me apply for a $4 million grant to make sure we have the money here in Newton County, because we don't even have a grant writer. We don't even have a grant writer. I heard a statement in one of the forums about increasing taxes and increasing SPLOST, but you're not seeking the free money here that's waiting for us in the federal government. We don't receive those dollars. There's grants for our youth. There's grants for affordable housing. There's Georgia Dream. There's grants for various things out there in the United States of America that's for the local government. But guess what? We do not apply for them. I actually went out with Georgia County. You know what Georgia County is? That's when you actually go into the trenches to find our homeless people. And I did that with our homeless people here in Newton County. Guess what they told me? Newton County hasn't applied for the annual grant, so we haven't received the funding. I've also for years asked for our county to apply for the Georgia Block Grant to give us money here. Guess what? We haven't applied for it. So if our answer solution is always increase taxes, do this, do the research, and we do nothing, guess what? Nothing is never going to happen because we're not making movement. It's all about progression. It's all about not just talking it, let's be about it, because I have been about it, writing those policies to make sure they affect us here on the county level. That's why you see me paying attention to what's happening with our state delegation so they can make sure Newton County is taken care of. Let's just not talk the talk. Let's walk the walk.